Hello and welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage and today we're going to be looking at Bitcoin. Before we jump into the price action, I just want to say thank you for watching. If you are enjoying the content, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and why not leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description below, you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It is free to join. Once in the general chat area, just mention a member of staff. We'll be happy to help you out with anything you may need. Okay, so let's get into it. So we're still looking for further evidence that which one of these options is playing out. So we do have the potential to form a five-wave move down here as a flat correction. So this is still something I'm monitoring. The zones we could be looking for if we push deeper would be this 20,354. This channel is currently sitting at this zone of 20,980 as well. So potentially, depending on how long this takes, 21,000 might be an interesting zone that we could look for a move away from this. But we're going to have a look at the internal substructures. The alternative way that we were looking at it is that actually we're starting this from this point here where we have the fifth wave completed here. My preferred count is from back here, but this is still possible, so we're keeping an eye on it, that we could actually have this play out to the downside as a ABC or potentially a WXY, where this could actually still get more complex. And what I mean by that is even once we complete this correction here, we could still get a move back to the upside and then one more push down. So we're going to have to keep an eye on what structure unfolds here. So effectively within this, what we're looking for is the within this one, we're looking at this potentially as an ABC pattern to the downside for the time being. So within this, basically we've come down to that one-to-one already, and this yellow box area is some potential extension lines of this. So we've actually come down to the 1236, and this would be the 1382, and this would finally be the 1618. So this is just looking at this as a simple ABC pattern. So for the most part, we could argue that we could come down deeper here and potentially look to come down to this 1382, which would be this 21301. But within the subwaves of this move, I'm going to just turn on the internals. We can see here, so basically we've been tracking this move as a 1-2-1-2, and then potentially what we're looking for here is confirmation that this fifth wave is actually completed. So there's a couple of ways we can look at this. We can count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into here, and then alternatively this third wave is further back, and basically this third wave would be here. In which case we have a couple of options. We can either argue that we've completed into here, but the problem is in relation, this wave 2 is a lot bigger than just looking at this as a corrective structure from here. So then we have two options. We can either argue that 4 completes here or here, because if we look at this move, we can count it potentially as a triangle, as A, B, C, D, and E. Effectively, then that would leave us completed into this point, in which case we'd only have a 3-wave move to the downside. So that would mean that we've technically come down to the target zone, but the way we've done so is only in a 3-wave move. The other way we look at it is if we complete 4 here, then we would be looking at this as potentially a 1, 2, so sorry, a 1, 2, 3, and looking at this as a expanding diagonal. So something like this effectively, where we could get this as a 1, 2, 3, and then we'd be looking for this fourth and a fifth. So if this is what's playing out, what we'd be looking for within the structure is the potential that we could see another 3-wave drop to the downside to complete this fifth wave, which after that point, I would still be looking for this fourth wave retracement. So depending on how deep this comes, we could see this fourth wave push up, or just come up into here. We come back onto the trend line, for instance, we can see that that 382 would actually then bring us back into this range of this previous fourth here, which would be quite a common thing to do. So this is something I'm still keeping an eye on. I don't think that this is quite completed, whichever way it is. The alternative way that we can look at this internal leg here is, like I said, we put this fourth wave into this area, and then instead, rather of looking for this potential of an expanding diagonal, we can argue that we've only first formed the first leg of this move. And what I mean by that is we'd be looking at this then potentially as a 1, we're looking for a 2, 3, 4, and a 5, something like this. Obviously, this needs time to play out, and if we do actually break back above this high point, it would invalidate 21,901. So that would invalidate this potential of forming a different, a contracting diagonal in this space where we get something like this play out effectively, where this becomes a more contracting wedge pattern to the downside. So we've got to keep an eye on this. This is one of the things that can play out here. Alternatively, this can just extend for as long as we don't take out any high points. This wave here can also just extend to the downside. So if we do drop down much deeper here and we look to actually pass in a direct sell-off past off of the current high, past this 21,167, effectively then we could have something more like a bigger impulse forming where this becomes a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have an additional 1, 2 here, so we get another fourth and a fifth. So this would look to actually push down much deeper, and we'd have to argue then that we were still within this structure here. Um, and we're actually looking to complete potentially this third wave still, and this third wave would be looking to actually complete lower down here. So this is something we just got to keep an eye on. If we fail to do this, there is also the possibility that we could be still in a corrective pattern, and we're actually still within this wave fourth. So what we'd be looking for is, because we've got this bit of choppiness here, we can argue that still we completed here, and then we formed a three-wave move up. Then we formed a three-wave move to the downside. So technically speaking, we could be looking for a flat here where we form something like this as an a B, and then we're looking for that C wave to the upside. So if this is the case, we could still be looking to come back up into this zone here of this 22.15 to this 22.76 if it's going to be an expanding flat. And if we throw this down onto this low point, we can see that um, we did come, sorry, we did come up to this 236, but now we've actually rejected down again, and the structure isn't great though at the moment. So until it starts to prove it's otherwise, I'm going to say that we're still within this circled wave three rather. And basically either we're getting a diagonal within this structure here, or we're going to get a push to the upside for a fourth wave. And this fourth wave is still actually going to be in play, where we've got an A, B, and then a C wave to the upside. If we hold this on there and then we actually project this one up, let's go off of this low. So the 1.618 would be here at this 2190. The 1.326 would actually be this 2197.93. So this is a zone we could potentially come back up to as a flat. Though we have actually come up to the 1 to 1 as well. So if this is a running flat, it could actually complete here, and then we could see a sell-off for a fifth from this point, where actually the fourth is actually lower down here, and then we look to drop one more time. So this is something that is still possible within this structure. We could actually complete this as a flat over here and look to push down, or alternatively, this could develop bigger, where this becomes an a B. We form this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, and then potentially we look to actually come up to this 2.618. So the other way of working out this target, if it's going to be expanding, is actually to come into this zone here and look at this potentially for that 0.618. So that 0.618 we can see actually brings us back into this box as well. So it'll be interesting to see whether we get this pushback to the upside, or whether we're going to just progress down here and form this wedge shape pattern. These are the things that we're looking at. If we do start to break down deeper here, then it could indicate that we are looking for the other option within this move, where we just look at this as a 1, 2. This whole move then becomes a 3, 4, 5. So we've got a couple of things to keep in mind here. If we do cross this 20,958 zone, then it becomes more likely that we're in the other count, which is my primary expectation anyway. This is just looking for the possibility of forming this in a three-wave move. But if we do move down past that zone, then effectively, we would have to look at it as the potential of a bigger five-wave move rather. And if we're looking at this scenario, that would mean we'd have to have a zigzag for it for this fourth wave to work. Otherwise, we would have to just revert back to the original plan, which is this way. So the way we're looking at the legs down here is two ways we can do this. We can count this as a single five-wave move at the top here, where this just becomes a 1, 2. And then effectively this would all be looking to form our third wave. So confirmation of this would only actually come by dropping down below this 20,958. if we do drop down past this point, which we can see that if we did get these additional extensions here within these yellow waves, would take us quite close, especially if we push down for a diagonal here, then we pull back up for a fourth and then push down one more time. That would actually put us right in this zone for confirming this third wave. Then we'd have to actually see whether we get this additional fourth wave back into this zone. So we can see that all these things would start to line up quite nicely. Nothing is confirmed yet within it, so we need to be careful. Obviously, we want to see how this plays out. Either this is going to form a diagonal, like I said, or this is going to come up one more time for a fourth, and then we're going to look for that breakdown. If that breakdown takes us past this 20,958, then potentially we could just be looking for an additional fourth and a fifth. Target zone, if it plays out exactly like we have it marked out here, would effectively be this 20,737 to this 20,408. Obviously, these things are subject to change as the waves form, so we just need to give it a bit of space and see how we get this. We want to see a nice clear confirmation of this 3, and then look for that wave 4, and then look for that fifth to the downside. If this turns around and we come back up here, and we do cross this point of this 22,668, effectively it would invalidate the potential of this additional leg here within this, and we'd have to look at this then as just a completed ABC pattern, and we would be looking out for that potential of a rejection. If I take just the current area, 50% would be right on that 22,809. Higher up here, we'd have the zone of the 618 to the golden pocket ratio over here. And then basically the 786 would be higher up in this zone and looking to actually retest some of this higher area here. Uh, and potentially this middle channel line here. So this would be interesting. If we do move back up here, we could look for something like this, where this becomes a W, an X, and then we look for Y or an A, B, and a C to the downside. For the most part, though, I am still anticipating this to break down a little bit deeper here. Like I said, this channel line will be interesting to me, as well as if we do manage to push down and start to form a wedge pattern here. That'll be also quite an interesting scenario where we look for this to complete lower down here. And then actually we look for this fourth again and a fifth, fourth and a fifth, and we look to push down. The other way we are looking at this move is looking at it slightly more. This is slightly more complicated, and effectively would be looking for a series of ones and twos higher up as well, which would then be looking for additional waves to the downside. So I'm actually going to just turn off the internals just so that it's a little bit clearer. And effectively what this would mean is once we complete those additional fourths and fifths, that would then potentially look to complete this third wave, the green third wave, which I've actually got these the wrong way around. So effectively, the green third wave, in which case we would then be looking to for the additional fourths and fifths to play out, and basically this is the internal wave of this. So if we do get this move play out to the downside and we do get those additional moves, we have to just be careful that we don't have further extension. Yeah, and like I've said before, that further extension could potentially take us down deeper within this zone, because we at the moment all our targets are higher up here. So this 382 is still a possibility if we do get these further extensions to the downside here. And what this would be looking at is then effectively having uh, another two fourth and fifths. So this is, like I said, it's something we're gonna have to just monitor. If we do just get a nice clean reaction off of here, then we can put this to bed and just look at it as a single move. But until we do, we have to just be aware that we could still actually see this still being within this third wave, and then we're still going to have to come back up for another fourth after all of these internal waves that we were talking about here. Uh, so basically, yeah, that's what we'd be looking for, is effectively all these internal waves playing out. That would then form this green wave 3. We'd get a wave 4, 5, an additional 4, and a 5, and then we'd be only looking to progress from there. So that's why I'm saying, that 0.382 is still a possibility, but we need to just see how these internals play out. If we just come down into this channel and we get a nice clean reaction to the upside in a nice five-wave structure, then we can argue that potentially it's completed here. Um, and then that's actually just looking to move away for the potential of that fifth wave to the upside. So that fifth wave target is still the same, if I'm not mistaken. I think I've pulled it off of this 382 anyway. So off of our current zone, this fifth wave. So if we argue that we actually just came down here and went into the channel and we didn't go all the way down to that 382, effectively the target area would be this 2508 4 to this 26476. So that's still, if we're still looking for that fit. So we need to just bear in mind, like I said, keep saying this fourth wave hasn't confirmed yet, but if we do confirm here, effectively what we'd want to see is five-wave structure developing to the upside, and we'd want to see that nice clean break up for this fifth wave to the upside here. And this could potentially look to retest the channel, or alternatively, once we get this fourth wave, we can actually if it does extend out through this, what this can do sometimes is actually push the channel line down, and you project it off the wave two and the wave four, then to look for that fifth wave. So once we actually get a decent reaction here, we can start to mess around with the channel and have a look at where that fifth wave might end. Okay, everyone, I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you in the next one. Take care out there.